Have you ever received a message like this one on eBay? Kindly ship with no pricing or invoice. Gift. If you've ever received a message like this, it typically comes right after the buyer has purchased the item, or they'll even include it in the notes to seller section on the item that they purchased. These messages are typically coming from other resellers or even drop shippers. And in today's video, I'm going to share a story about a new message that I have been seeing more frequently from drop shippers, why this might be an issue moving forward, and what I do when I receive these messages. But real quick, before we get into the story, if you haven't already, head over to Facebook and make sure you give me a follow. I am putting out new content over there every day that you will not want to miss. One of the first things I do every morning is launch my drafts. I log into eBay and I set a bunch of listings live for that day. Then I head out to my garage and I ship any items that need to be shipped out. I do this first thing in the morning because it's the bare minimum that I have to accomplish every single day. I play the eBay algorithm game, so I always want to make sure I'm putting at least a few items live every single day. And I am required to ship items out to any buyers that have purchased items from me. So these are the two first things I do every single morning. Last week, I launched some toner cartridges. These were some high-end toners that were fairly expensive. They should be selling for around $150 each. However, the boxes showed some significant wear, such as color fading and some rips and corner damage. So I priced them significantly lower than the market value. They were brand new and sealed and still had the seal over the packaging. However, they did show significant wear. So I marked them down in price and of course included all this information in the title, the condition notes, the description, and made sure to photograph any of the flaws on the packaging. Within 30 seconds of making these listings live, I received 3 offers on the 3 ink cartridges that I had listed. The offers were for 1% off of my listing price. Now, this was a price that I was super happy to sell these items at. However, the buyer included a message on the offer. The message on the offer said, "Please note this offer is for sealed new style boxes, black and white for HP, blue and white for Brother, that are in great condition. We pay twice a day on weekdays, so you will be paid promptly. Thank you." Now, this offer was not prepaid, and I have a standard rule in my business that I do not accept offers unless they come prepaid, so that the buyer has already put their credit card information on file, and that as soon as I accept the offer, it charges their account and I'm able to sell that item. Now, I personally do this because for me and my business, it does not work to have someone tying up an item. There has been too many times where I accept an offer from a buyer and that buyer does not pay, and they tie up that item for 4 calendar days while I'm waiting for them to pay for this item. The other factor I have is I like to travel a lot. So if I have offers that are currently pending or waiting for payment from someone, and I go and put my store on time away mode or extend my handling time, I am still responsible for fulfilling that original offer that that buyer had sent. So if the buyer sends the offer out on day 1 and I decide to go on vacation on day 2, but they don't pay until day 4, I am technically still responsible to have shipped that item out on time, even though I put my store on vacation mode 2 days earlier and the buyer didn't pay until the very last day. Therefore, for me, in my business, it's just not worth the risk or the hassle to accept offers from buyers that do not prepay. So what I do instead is I counter back with another offer. If their offer was fairly close to what I want, I'll counter back with just a few cents lower, just so that they might be apt to accept it. Now, when they go to accept that offer, they actually have to prepay so that I am guaranteed that when they accept that offer, that there is payment received and I can immediately ship that item out. However, the message that this buyer included in his offer made it so that I did not want to sell to him. This message said that the item had to be in great condition, and mine clearly was not. Now, I don't like using the word great condition because personally, what I might consider great condition, you might consider poor condition. The guy over here might consider fair condition. So using vague terms like that is something I just don't like using. I'll describe the damage, that there's a rip, that there's a tear, that there's a bend, that there's color fading, but I don't say things are in great condition because it leaves it up to interpretation. So this guy's saying that it's in great condition. To me, it meant that my item is not in great condition. condition. However, maybe he thought that it was in great condition even though it had some color fading and some rips and tears. Either way, this guy had over a 20,000 feedback score on eBay, so he was a big time buyer on the platform. And I'm sure he saw in the title, in the description, in the seller notes, and in the photos any of the flaws on these items. So what am I so worried about? For me, I want to make sure that the buyer is going to be happy with the items. I don't want to sell something to a buyer for him to then complain and say, hey, this wasn't in great condition. So I just went ahead and declined all 3 of his offers. Before I could even make it to the garage to go ship out the items for that day, my phone went buzz, buzz, buzz. And I looked down and I had sold all 3 ink cartridges. Within seconds of me declining his original offer, I had sold all 3 to, of course, the same guy. And then almost immediately after receiving those 3 sales, I received 3 messages. Buzz, 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 looked at my phone, 3 messages from this buyer. Now, I immediately knew something was off. No one is sending out offers this quick. No one is buying the item after you decline the offer that fast. And no one is sending out 3 messages this quick. All 3 messages said the exact same thing. Hello, please securely pack to avoid retail boxes getting damaged in transit. If you have more genuine or original toners or imaging supplies, feel free to message us your eBay listing. We buy most brands and models. If the items you are shipping look different than pictured, please notify us in advance. If there are any labels on the toner box, please do not remove them. We will remove them once received. Please be aware that we apply lot numbers to all items upon receipt to enhance traceability and deter counterfeit products. We are committed to maintaining the quality and authenticity of our supply chain. Thank you for your business. We look forward to working with you. Okay, so clearly this guy's a drop shipper because nobody else would send all that information. Nobody else is putting lot numbers on the item. I don't even know why you're telling me that you're putting lot numbers on the item. Once I sell the item to you, you can do whatever you want with it. You can write on it, you can stick sticky notes on it. I don't really care. However, there is something in there where he's concerned about how the box is going to look upon arrival and he wants it packed securely. And he says that if the item looks different than the photographs, to let them know. Now, I always take photographs of the exact item I'm selling. So my photos in this listing were the exact items that he was receiving, and they showed any of the flaws that I described fully in the listing title seller notes. However, even though the photos looked the same, his message put me on edge, and I wanted to make sure that he fully understood the items that he was receiving. So I decided right away, as I was heading out to ship these items, that I was not going to ship his ink cartridges today. I wanted to wait and make sure that I spoke to an actual human that actually looked at these photos, because at this point, I'm pretty sure that an AI bot sent these offers and then sent these follow-up purchases and then sent these follow-up vague messages that the item better look like the item in the photos and that they only buy items in great condition, and then they buy my item, which clearly says that it's not in great condition. So I decide to send him a quick message and I say, hey, I just want to make sure that you fully understand the items that you're receiving. And I go in and I describe all the flaws and I say that it was listed in the title, it was listed in the description, seller notes, and photos. But I just want to make sure that you fully understand the condition of the items that you had just purchased. A few hours goes by and I receive cancellation requests for all 3 of the toners that I sold him. He apologizes in the cancellation request for the mistake of purchasing these items, and I go ahead and accept the cancellation and go and relist these items for sale. I also immediately add him to the block buyer list because the last thing I want is to relist these items and his AI bot or whatever software he's using to find these items sees them again, and we go through this whole thing of him sending an offer, me declining the offer, him buying the item, and me having to message him and say, hey, you bought this item even though it doesn't meet the qualifications that you apparently want. Now, I'm not against drop shippers or resellers purchasing my item. In fact, I sell a lot of items to drop shippers and a lot of items to other resellers. And most of the time, it's never even a problem. I'll sell a lot of video games, a lot of calculators, a lot of ink, and a lot of VCR DVD combos to the same few buyers over and over and over again. And the majority of them are great. Now, once in a while, you do end up with one that is a scammer, such as the guy that ripped me off with the VCR DVD combo player. If you're unaware of that story, go ahead and check out this video here where I talk about that interaction that I had with that scammer. However, most of these people are just buying these items to resell, and they're just as good of a buyer as anyone else is. For me, like the message in the beginning asking for me to not include an invoice or a receipt in the box, it's not a big deal. I don't do that anyways, so it's not a step outside of my process to just not include it, and I don't get offended that the guy is selling it and going to make more money. I don't care that someone else can buy my item and resell it and make more money. If I sell it for a price that I'm happy for and he can buy it for a price that he's happy for and we all make money, then it's a win-win. It doesn't matter that he's going to resell the item. Once I sell the item, it's out of my hands. I don't really care what the buyer does with it moving forward. I just want to make sure that they understand the item that they're buying. I actually see a lot of names pop up on my auto decline offers fairly frequently. So for me, I always put a minimum offer on my items because I don't want to deal with the guy that sends $1 on a $100 item and then sends $2. I just want those to be auto declined so I'm not wasting time having to deal with it. Now, I do occasionally go into these listings and just look at what offers I've received and what offers have auto declined. And a lot of times I'll see the same person over and over and over again sending me same offers on the same kind of items, and they're always lowball offers. Now, if you sell a lot of video games, especially like Wii Sports and Mario titles, you probably know the guy I'm talking about. He'll send you an offer for less than what you can sell these items for, and he'll always say in his message, "Hello, here's my offer, thank you," with a smiley face emoji. This guy shows up on all of my video game listings that are anything like Wii Sports or Mario titles. And he's always sending me lowball offers on these items. Now, I'm sure it works occasionally for him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be doing this. He wouldn't be sending out mass offers on these items if occasionally eBay sellers didn't sell it to him at that price. But for me and my business, especially with the titles he's after, these are highly desirable titles that sell super quick for full price, and I just don't honestly need his lowball offers. Like I said, there is no hate on anyone for doing their own hustle. If they can go on and send out a bunch of offers and buy a few items and then turn around and sell them on Amazon or sell them locally or sell them within their own business. I have a guy that buys a lot of plumbing parts from me. I'm pretty sure he's a plumber and he just buys them and then uses them in his plumbing business or his plumbing store. It doesn't really matter to me. If we can all make money and they're nice people and they're good to deal with, it's a win-win for everybody. However, I think that the software that some of these buyers that are buying in bulk are using is going to be a problem moving forward. Not only do I think that this software might become more common, especially among the people that are reselling and drop shipping, but I think the casual eBay user might actually start using it as well to send out bulk offers on a bunch of items and see which one comes back with the best price. I personally think this is going to be a problem moving forward, and I think eBay should step in and do something before it gets out of hand, before people start sending out hundreds or thousands of offers every single day on items that no one has looked at other than an AI bot. I already think that some of these people that are sending out these offers, especially like the guy with the ink cartridges that has over a 20,000 feedback score and has these vague copy and paste responses that he puts in to his offers and sends immediately upon message, that they're sending out hundreds, if not thousands of offers every single day, and they're not even looking at what they're sending these offers out to. So if you're not careful and you're selling an item that has some wear or damage and you're selling it at a lower price point, this is something that AI technology that he's probably using is triggering and sending him some kind of message, or is automatically sending out these messages for him. And he's not taking the time to actually look at all these listings because he's buying so much in bulk. I think that this is eventually going to lead to higher return rates and more unhappy customers, which in turn hurts our profitability and hurts our eBay ratings. Now, yes, sometimes you'll get an actual buyer who's not a reseller or a drop shipper who buys something and doesn't read the title, doesn't look at the photos, doesn't read the description. In fact, I recently sold an item and it clearly stated in the title, the photos, description, seller notes that the power cord was not included. This guy bought the item. Once he received it, he opened the box and immediately opened an INAD for missing parts saying that there's no power cord included. Well, of course not. It said that in the listing. However, unfortunately for me, the way he opened that return, I am no longer able to withhold anything and I have to pay shipping both ways. He opened it as an INAD for missing items, and eBay is always going to side with the buyer on these cases. So unfortunately for me, just because he didn't read the listing, look at the photos, description, seller notes, it means that I have to eat shipping both ways on this product. This is just something that we have to deal with. It's just the cost of doing business. You'll get buyers that buy things, don't want it, lie about it, or they just don't even understand what they're buying. They don't look at the photos, they don't read the description. You'll get that occasionally. However, I think with this software, I think we're going to see a huge increase in the amount of INADs if more people are using this software. Because clearly on that ink, I had stated right in the title that this box showed wear or damage. And that AI software or whatever he was using did not recognize that. They also did not look at the photos, even though he says if the photos don't look the same as the listing, to let him know. My photos showed the exact flaws. So I'm not sure what the software is looking at. I'm not sure what he's looking at, but they're missing it. And if they're buying in bulk, they're going to be fine with returning in bulk. They understand the rules. They understand if they get the item and they're not happy with it, that they can just say that the item wasn't as described and that we as the original eBay seller are going to have to eat all the fees and all the shipping. For me, moving forward, anytime I can tell that a buyer is sending out bulk messages and bulk offers, I'm just going to decline the offer and add them immediately to the block buyer list. These are people I don't want to deal with. Even though I'm willing to sell to other resellers and drop shippers, if I can tell that they're using some kind of technology to just send out mass amounts of offers, that's someone I don't want to deal with, because at a certain point, they're going to receive an item that they didn't look at and they're not happy with, and then it's going to eat into my personal profitability of my business. So for me, I'm just going to add them to the block buyer list. Anytime I see those vague copy and paste responses, or I see the offers, a lot of times the offers come in immediately and they'll always be 1 penny over. So if they're sending you an $18 offer, they're going to send you $18.01. That way, if you have auto decline on for $18, the 18 cents makes it so that you'll actually see that offer. So any of those things are telltale signs that they're using some kind of software and they're just going to get added to my block buyer list. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that this is going to be a problem moving forward? Do you think more people are going to start sourcing off of eBay to sell on, say, Amazon, or sell in their local business, or sell on their Shopify store, and they're going to use some kind of software to send out bulk offers and to buy in bulk without ever even looking at the listing? Do you think this is going to be a problem? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you're going to love this one. So go ahead and give it a click.